Let's get it. It's not enough for you to be friends with somebody and simply proclaim that this is your ride or die, your end all be all, bros and to the end, buddies to the day you die, and all that good stuff. That's nice to say. It's something nice to hear. But a friend is somebody who shows up and doesn't necessarily have to say anything. They can prove that when you go through hard times or when you have issues or you have special things that occur in your life, things that make you happy, they're there to participate in the experience of those things with you. To celebrate you in the times you need to be celebrated, to hold your hand in the times you need somebody to comfort you for something that you're going through. One of the things that kind of bothers me about the relationships, well, one of many of the things that bother me about some of the relationships on Sister Wives, is that with Robyn, she proclaims to be and proclaims that she's desirous to have these close friendships and relationships, and dare I say, sister like relationships with these other women, but she makes no effort to, or at least effort that we see, to establish or support the idea that she's actually trying to have these relationships. When she talks to Meri or tries to encourage Meri to pursue a relationship that she full well knows doesn't serve Meri, the person who Meri is chasing after doesn't want her, doesn't want anything to do with her. This is a conversation that Robyn and Kody have had offline about Meri behind Meri's back, regarding Kody's desire to be with Meri, and in every plans, they're not going to make it obvious this is what they're doing. They always create a position where they either have plausible deniability, or they can distract you or sideline you, or they can say there's no evidence to support that, and you know me, and everything relies on how well you know them and the character that they have and your experience with them, so therefore you should understand that they didn't do anything, and of course they would never mean anything nasty because that's not who they are. Even if it does look like they did something wrong, of course I didn't do anything wrong because you know me and you know the kind of person I am. You know my character. So, with that being said, Meri, being loyal, may not have had the position where she could confront Robyn straight on and directly look at it and say, you know what, that is selfish. Because she's trying to say, no, it can be perceived as selfish, but Robyn actually is trying to look out for me and my best interest and things that she thinks I want. And so, therefore, it's not really selfish. It's not really bad. Robyn is actually trying to help. Robyn is looking out for Robyn. And I think that the difference is Jenn understands that. There was another clip where I talked about previously, even I spoke about it with the sacred covenant, the promise I made you that if I was ever in a position that I didn't find you attractive, or I didn't want to be with you, or I just look at you and you disgust me, that I would end the relationship. A sacred promise. The thing with that is, I've said it before on this channel. Other people have said it before. I'm not just going to take all the credit. I'm a genius. Other people have made the same observation I did. That when push comes down to shove, this is a whole conversation Kody had with Robyn about these other women. This is something that he said about these other people. And in this case, Jenn needs to recognize, or Meri needs to recognize, when you hear things like this, they talking about you. This is something that they've already discussed. He said when they first got together and they first got married, they had this conversation. That conversation was about you. You knew what your situation was while you were sitting in that relationship. The funny thing is that this is something that I talk to my kids about. Even while they're in school and they're going to school, before I get a call from the teacher, or before I get any kind of note, or I get a report card, or whatever the case may be, you know whether you're struggling with the class or not. You know whether you understand this stuff or don't understand it. My whole point is, before you take a test, before you take the quiz, when you sitting there in class and you feeling confused, you know you're confused. So it's your opportunity for you to come to me, come to your teacher, go find somebody at school to help to explain to you what's going on in class, so that when you take the test, you can do well on the test. You take the quiz and you have to do a project or whatever the case may be, you know what it is. You know before anybody else where you are. In this situation, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when Robyn came into the family, you knew where your relationship was with Kody. You knew where your relationship was with Kody. And regardless of what you thought back then, you know, looking back now, that your relationship wasn't as strong. It wasn't going to recover. It wasn't going to get better. So when he sits there with Robyn and say that they had this conversation, something should have clicked in Meri and say, you know what, these mothers are talking about me. This is where it gets kind of funny for me when you start talking about loyalty, because to me, loyalty means that you have a certain promise that you're keeping to this other person, a promise to yourself, maybe to your character, a promise to a person that you're going to look out for them. But at the same time, loyalty does not mean that you have to be an ass for somebody else. You don't have to be look around and be somebody else's fool because you call yourself being loyal to that person. You know, like I said before, I've said it a million times, my brother, years ago, when we were kids, he said something that I thought was very profound, my younger brother. He said that, you know, the only way people can walk all over you is if you lay down for them first. And with Meri, as bad as I want to feel for Meri, you have to stop laying down for this guy. Okay, fine, he tricked you. Fine, he fooled you. Fine, you were trying to be loyal. Fine, you were trying to get your mind around it. Fine, you had to struggle through this. But you kept laying down for him, irregardless of the reason. And so In this situation, it really helps when you have somebody who is sitting on your side. Even when you grow up in a situation where you're socialized to believe a certain thing or have a certain position, it really helps for you to have a friend who's going to pull your coattails and say, hey, this isn't normal. Hey, you have to look out for you. Hey, these people aren't helping you. This person isn't your friend. This person isn't looking out for your best interest. And that's kind of the void that Jenn filled for Meri on this show. Because if we look at the show realistically, and let's be honest, Christine and Janelle, no matter how you feel about them, they have each other, and they're not really interested in including Kody or Meri or Robyn in their situation. Robyn and Kody, clearly they have themselves. So you have two separate units who have each other's backs. When push comes down to shove, Kody and Robyn, Janelle and Christine, and Meri is kind of out there on the island by herself. And that's the service that Jenn provides to her as her friend. She gives her the support system and the things necessary for her to be able to make better decisions for herself. Let's take a look at the whole covenant conversation as Jenn perceives it, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
Like, I feel like something else had to have happened. Like, was he already complaining to her pre-marriage about his relationship with, like, you or Janelle or Christine? And that was like, and Robyn's like, well, if this happens with us, like, promise me you won't
just... Oh my gosh, are you serious?
I never... Overthinking.
See, and at that point, many of us were looking at the screen like, of course, that's exactly what happened. There's no other way this conversation works. There's no other way this conversation works. Oh, I'm going to make you... Because it's not just a conversation, and that's the thing that really hit me, just for clarification's sake. It's not just a conversation where you just sit there. Remember the conversation that we had years and years ago where I had said to you, because of the relationship that you had with your previous marriage and you guys not having that compassionate, loving relationship that you didn't want to continue, la, 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 la. Okay, fine. But if you put it in the context of a sacred covenant and a sacred promise, this is a condition of them being able to get married. This is a fundamental foundational point in their marriage. So that's not just a blow-through conversation or just, I really want to make sure that I have happiness and love for the rest of my life and that, blah, blah. Because everybody promises that. That's what the marriage vows are. Everybody promises that I'm going to love you, I'm going to hold you, I'm going to be compassionate to you, I'm going to cherish you, etc., etc., etc. No matter how you formulate it, is basically that. I promise to be there for you and love you to the end of time. Everybody promises that. That's what the first promise is. So when she says not to be in a pathetic place where I'm sitting there looking bad or I'm sitting there looking stupid. Is this from, you can make the argument this is something that she's seen in other relationships because they're supposed to be in these polygamous communities. She's seen situations where the husband stops liking the wife and stops coming around and stops dealing with her. So he makes a sacred promise to Robyn that he's not going to do that. Or you could make the argument that maybe this is something she grew up in, watching women, with her mom being a favorite wife or whatever, the favored wife for her stepfather, watching the other women in their lives, watching the other women in these other polygamous communities. Okay, fine, that could be an argument. But at the same time, she's speaking to Kody about this, and you know that you were in that pathetic place. You know you were in that pitiful place. But this is where I start talking about how easy it would be for you to shift the argument if you confront them. Sometimes, in some cases, let's be honest, you don't have to always confront people. That's a nice reality show TV thing that you feel like you have to go and talk to everybody about everything and you have to hammer it all out and let them know what you think and, so you can have the big blowout argument. That's something that you usually see on television. That's something you see in reality shows. Rubber meets road. If you know something for you and you're confident in your beliefs or your opinions, you act on your opinions or your beliefs for you. You don't necessarily have to have a whole big gold conversation. Now, I know there's some people who are going to get on here and say, well, conversations are so important. If you're a family, you're supposed to sit down and have conversations. And open communications. That is important. That is important. But you also have to recognize with who the players are and the people whom you're dealing with. With Robyn and Kody, they're never going to take responsibility for anything that they do wrong. It doesn't matter. You could have Kody on tape saying Meri ain't nothing. I don't want to be in a relationship with her. I can't stand her. And Robyn say, don't ever have me in a position like you have Meri in. She can say that. And then when you present the tape to them, they'll argue and talk to you about how unfair it is that they were taped, how the video isn't representative of the things that are going on in their situation, that you don't understand what was actually being said or what happened because this isn't the whole thing or it's out of context or whatever the case may be. I got you dead to right saying it. But they're going to give you every excuse in the book as to why they shouldn't apologize and why they're not at fault. And you have to recognize that some conversations you try to have and you keep banging your head against the wall having them, but after a while you got to realize who you're dealing with. And some conversations, frankly, just for the sake of time, may not be worth having. Robyn and Kody sitting there arguing with them about how they did you wrong and how they mistreated you and how they gave you the shaft. Okay, you said that. They're going to walk away from the conversation. It's still your fault. They didn't make any mistakes. They didn't do anything wrong. Even if they're screwing you over. When Kody walks away from that whole Coyote Pass conversation on Coyote Pass with Meri and Robyn, where Kody and Meri was supposed to be breaking up, he didn't ride off into the sunset saying to himself, you know what? She was right. That land division was wrong. That was something terrible. And that's the whole point. Even with Jenn talking about, like, you know, if they want to really share the land, if Robyn wants to support you, why is Robyn sitting there talking about she wants 8 acres of land out of 14 acres of land? She's taking more than half of the land because her and Kody are married. Robyn gets Kody's share. If Kody goes out there and cut down a tree, the tree fall on him and crush him, she has 8 acres of land. She inherits all of it. Not some of it, not her 4 acres or her portion. She gets all 8 acres of that land. And there's nothing in me that makes me think that Robyn is sitting there trying to figure out how to split this land up between the ex-wives and the people who helped them equally paid for it. She's not trying to figure out how to split the land up. She's not trying to equally divide the land. So what are we talking about? And this is the thing where you can look at it and say that's selfish, but she's going to turn it around and somehow not only is she going to turn around and excuse her bad behavior, but she's going to make herself the victim in this situation. That's my take. Let me know what you guys think. My name is James. This has been My Take on Reality. And I'm out. Like I could just die any minute. Go for a ride down the side. PCH.